All right, buckle up, everyone. We're diving deep into Every Second Counts, a book by the founders of Rethink Productivity.
And they're obsessed with helping businesses, work smarter, not harder, right?
Smarter, not hard. Exactly. Think of this deep dive like a crash course in making every second count for your business.
Ooh, I like that. Every second counts because every second does count.
It really does. And Rethink Productivity, they're all about finding that hidden time and those hidden cost savings, and sometimes in places you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, they find them in the most unexpected places. It's amazing. The book's really laid out like a roadmap.
A roadmap. Okay, I like that.
To better productivity, each chapter is like a stop along the way.
Okay, so like a journey, each chapter is a stop. I like that visual. And the chapter titles, oh man, they're juicy. Like, where is your money really going?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Or how can I serve more customers at peak times? Stuff every business owner wants to know, right?
For sure, at Rethink, they're all about making decisions based on evidence,
Evidence-based, yeah.
Not just going with your gut or following the latest trend. And the book is full of real examples, real companies who've done this.
Real world examples. Gotta love that. Proof it actually works.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter what size your business is or what industry you're in.
It's universal, those challenges.
Everyone's dealing with tight labor markets, trying to save money. It's relevant to everyone.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's take this journey chapter by chapter. Chapter 1, boom, hits you with that question. Where is your money really going?
It's the question everyone's asking.
And I gotta admit, when I read this chapter, I was like, oh, that's me. They talk about salary budgets being misallocated.
Oh, yeah, happens all the time.
Money meant for customer-facing roles ends up going to behind-the-scenes tasks.
Right. You think you're spending it on this, but it's going to that.
Exactly. And Rethink, they have this tool, they call it the output diagnostic.
The output diagnostic, it's powerful.
And it's all about measuring, like, where is employee time actually going?
Versus where you think it's going, there's often a big difference.
A big difference. So tell me, how does this output diagnostic thing work? Do they use software? Do they observe people? Is it like employee surveys?
It depends. It really does. Depends on the business, the type of work they do.
Makes sense.
They might use time logs. They might watch people work. Sometimes they use software that tracks how people are using systems.
Okay, so like a multi-pronged approach.
The important thing is to get good data, accurate data on how time's being spent across the whole operation.
Okay, paint me a picture. Give me an example, like a real company where this diagnostic revealed something surprising.
Okay, so there was this grocery retailer. They thought their labor costs were fine.
They thought they had it under control.
But when they did the output diagnostic, they found they were spending twice as long dealing with excess stock.
Excess stock.
Then they were processing deliveries. Think about that.
More time moving stuff around than getting it on the shelves.
More time moving it than selling it, yeah.
Wow, so what'd they do with that information?
It made them totally rethink their inventory. They were doing things the old way. Overstocking, just in case.
Just in case, yeah.
So they moved to a just-in-time system.
Just in time, okay.
They worked closely with suppliers to have a steady flow of goods, but no huge stockpile.
So that saved money on warehousing, I'm guessing?
Yeah, warehousing, labor, and it freed up employees to spend more time with customers.
More time with customers, that's what we want. Okay, chapter 2, here we go. How can I serve more customers at peak times? This is where the money's made, right?
This is the make or break time for a lot of businesses.
Peak periods. But things can go wrong quickly if you're not ready. Think about your own busiest times, listener. Are you really ready to make the most of them?
This chapter gets into something Rethink calls aggregation of marginal gains.
Now that's a phrase. Aggregation of marginal gains.
It's the idea that lots of little improvement can add up to a big increase in efficiency.
Okay, love the phrase. But what's it look like in the real world? Give us an example, something our listeners can relate to.
So they talk about this coffee shop slammed during the morning rush.
The morning rush, oh yeah.
They were at max capacity, couldn't hire more people, couldn't buy more equipment.
So what did they do?
Rethink helped them analyze their drink-making process, every single step.
Wow, every step.
They found that frothing milk was a bottleneck.
The milk frother? Always a bottleneck,
But instead of buying a fancy new machine,
which would be expensive.
they did something simpler. They angled the paper cups.
Dangled the cups.
So they were easier to grab, and they got one-handed syrup dispensers.
Wait, they increased capacity by changing the angle of the cups?
It sounds crazy, but it worked.
That's brilliant. So simple.
Those little tweaks saved seconds on each order,
Seconds add up.
and their throughput went up by 25%. No major investments.
That's amazing. Small changes, big impact. I love it. All right. Chapter 3, deep breath, everyone. How can I make savings?
Ooh, nobody likes talking about cutting costs.
I know. Not the most fun topic, but let's be real. Finding ways to trim the fat, it's essential, especially these days.
Especially these days, if you want to thrive, you got to be smart about spending.
Exactly. And they actually reframe cost cutting.
They do. They turn it into a positive thing.
A positive thing. How so?
They say it's a chance to streamline your operations, get rid of waste, free up money for growth.
Okay, so like spring cleaning for your business.
Exactly. Get rid of the clutter, make space for what matters.
I can get behind that. So what's their secret? How do they find those savings?
They have a 3-step approach. First, figure out what you can stop doing.
Just stop doing completely,
Yeah, you got to challenge those old assumptions, those processes that are just habit.
but might not be necessary anymore.
Right. Second, streamline the essential tasks, make them simpler, more efficient,
Okay, so like optimize the things you have to do.
and use technology to automate the boring stuff, the repetitive stuff.
Automation, love it. And
Minimize downtime, make sure people are scheduled well, that communication is good, reduce errors.
so that things flow smoothly, less wasted time.
Exactly. Less wasted time, more productivity.
Give us some examples. What are some of those organizational comfort blankets businesses can get rid of
Oh, you'd be surprised. Things like counting cash every single day.
when you could do it weekly?
Exactly. Or tracking inventory by hand when your system does it automatically.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And then there's all the reporting, data entry. So much of it's already digital, but people are still doing it manually.
It's like those subscriptions we forget to cancel, just draining money every month.
It is. It really is. So the key is to question everything and be willing to let go of those old habits.
Let go of the things that aren't serving you anymore.
Exactly. Be intentional. Focus on what drives value for your business and your customers.
Value, that's the key word. All right, this has been great, but we're just getting started.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Every Second Counts. We spent part 1 walking through those first steps, getting a handle on where your money and time are going and really maximizing those peak times, those busy periods, when you can make the most profit.
Yeah, where the magic happens.
Exactly. And now we're going to bring those concepts to life
Yeah, let's see how it works in the real world.
with some real world examples, because stories are how we learn, right?
Stories make it stick, absolutely. So let's jump back to that grocery retailer from chapter 1.
The one spending more time managing extra stock than actually helping customers.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. The output diagnostic showed them they were kind of stuck in the past with their inventory practices.
Right. They were so focused on having enough of everything just in case.
Just in case, yeah.
It created a huge mess for them logistically.
Yeah, totally inefficient.
But once they had that data, they could make a case for change,
Okay, so what do they do?
They worked with their suppliers to get that just-in-time system going.
Just in time.
Meaning they only ordered what they needed when they needed it.
So less clutter, less space wasted, and less time moving boxes around.
Exactly. A win-win for employees and for customers.
I like it. So it benefited everyone.
It did. And what's interesting is this shift to just-in-time had a ripple effect.
A ripple effect, okay.
Because they weren't constantly moving stock, the shelves were always full, customers could find what they needed.
Happy customer.
Happy customers, more likely to come back, spend more,
And that means higher profits.
Exactly. So it all comes back to that data-driven decision-making, finding the root of the problem.
And then taking action.
Exactly. Okay, let's switch gears. Look at a case study that shows aggregation of marginal gains in action.
Oh, yeah, love that phrase. Those little tweaks that add up to big wins.
Right. This one goes back to chapter 2. Remember that coffee shop?
The ones swamped during the morning rush.
They couldn't hire more staff, couldn't buy more equipment, so they had to get creative.
And they did it by changing the angle of the cups, right?
And the one-handed syrup dispensers, remember?
It's amazing what a difference those little things made.
It shows how a few seconds saved on each order can have a big impact.
Especially when you're dealing with hundreds of orders.
Right. Every second counts, like that old saying, for one a nail.
The shoe was lost. For one of a shoe, the horse was lost.
Exactly. Sometimes the smallest things can make or break a system.
So true. So what else did they do besides the cups and the syrup?
They kept analyzing, found another bottleneck, the coffee grinding and espresso shots.
Oh, yeah, that's a crucial step.
So did they buy a fancy new espresso machine?
I was going to guess that.
Nope, they went for a more strategic solution, an automated grinder and shot maker,
Okay, so the machine does the heavy lifting.
which frees up the baristas to focus on the human touch, frothing milk, latte art, talking to customers.
So they use technology to help, not replace their people.
Exactly, that's the key, finding that balance.
And what was the outcome?
They increased capacity by 25% without sacrificing quality. In fact, customers loved it.
Faster service, consistent drinks,
It's a win-win-win for the business, the employees, and the customer.
all because they were willing to experiment and keep improving.
Exactly. Okay, I want to look at a case study that shows the importance of the people, engaging your employees.
Oh yeah, getting them involved, making them feel valued.
This one takes us to Chapter 5. It's all about leadership and structure.
Okay, leadership, that's huge.
Rethink talks about this kitchen retailer struggling with their showroom.
The showroom, that's where you make the sale.
Their employees were trying to do too much,
Too much, yeah.
feeling overwhelmed, burnt out.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They had this one role. It was supposed to cover everything: sales, design, customer service, even cleaning.
One person doing all of that. No wonder they were stressed.
And the customers felt it too.
Oh yeah, probably getting ignored or passed around.
Exactly. So Rethink did what they do: observe, listen, gather data.
They're like detectives.
They spent time in the showroom talking to employees and customers.
Getting the full picture,
And what they found was the problem wasn't the employees themselves.
it was the system.
The structure of the role, they were trying to wear too many hats, couldn't excel at any of them.
Spread too thin.
Exactly. Always putting out fires, never time to connect with customers,
So they needed to break down that role.
into smaller, more manageable pieces.
Specialization. Make sense?
They recommended separate roles for sales, design, customer service.
Each with their own responsibilities, clear goals.
That way employees could focus on their strengths, become experts.
And the customers, did they notice the difference?
Oh yeah, no more wandering around lost, getting ignored.
Okay, so everyone wins again.
They had knowledgeable staff to help them, guide them.
It's a reminder that productivity isn't just working harder, it's about working smarter.
And creating systems that work for everyone, both employees and customers.
So empower your people, listen to their feedback, and have a good structure in place.
Absolutely. Okay, let's look at a case study that shows Rethink's approach to technology.
Technology, gotta love it, but it can be tricky sometimes.
This takes us back to Chapter 9. Remember, it's all about validating those projected savings.
I mean, making sure your investments are actually paying off.
They talk about this warehouse struggling with order picking efficiency,
They had all the fancy tech, robots, automation, the works.
but they weren't seeing the results they expected.
What was the problem?
Wi-Fi dead spots.
Wi-Fi. Are you serious?
I know, ironic, right? They had all this high-tech equipment,
State of the art.
but it was being sabotaged by a weak signal.
That's crazy.
They overlooked a crucial detail. The robots needed a strong signal to communicate with the system.
But the warehouse was so big.
Huge, lots of metal shelving disrupting the signal.
So delays, errors, all because of bad Wi-Fi.
Exactly. Their high-tech solution tripped up by low-tech infrastructure.
So how'd they fix it?
They could have replaced the whole Wi-Fi system, but that's expensive and time-consuming.
Yeah, not ideal.
So they went with a simpler solution: Wi-Fi boosters.
Strategically placed, I'm guessing.
Targeting those weak spots, it's a reminder that sometimes the simplest solution is best.
Keep it simple.
And it shows Rethink's problem-solving mindset. They're not afraid to get creative.
Find what works, whatever it takes.
So always validate your assumptions, test your systems, and be ready to adapt.
Technology is a tool, not a magic wand.
Exactly. It has to be used strategically to get the results you want.
Okay, this has been fascinating, but now I'm thinking, how do we apply this stuff?
Yeah, let's get practical. What can our listeners do to make every second count in their own businesses?
Welcome back for the final part of our deep dive into Every Second Counts. We've covered the principles, we've seen those principles in action.
Yeah, real companies, real results.
And now it's time to get personal, to think about your business.
How can you make every second count? Because it's not just theory, it's about making a difference.
It's about results. And remember, every business is unique.
There's no magic formula that works for everyone.
But there are some fundamentals we can all use, starting with data.
Data, yeah. Remember Rethink's big thing, evidence-based decision-making.
Got to have that data to make smart choices.
It's about moving beyond gut feelings, really understanding what's going on.
That's where the output diagnostic comes in, right?
A powerful tool helps you see where your team's time is really going.
And you might be surprised by what you find.
You often are.
And you don't need fancy software to start. Just grab a notebook.
A pen, and just watch. Observe your operations.
Be a detective. Where are the bottlenecks? Where are people struggling?
Are there tasks that just take way too long?
Once you have that baseline data, you can start looking for those organizational comfort blankets.
Those things you do just because you've always done them.
But they might not be necessary anymore.
So be brave. Challenge the status quo. Ask yourself, why are we doing this?
And if the answer is, well, we've always done it this way, it might be time for a change.
Could you automate it, delegate it, maybe get rid of it entirely?
And don't be afraid to experiment, try new things, see what works.
Track the results, because what works for one business might not work for another.
Find your own path. Okay, now let's talk about time and motion studies.
Sounds a bit technical, but it's really just about breaking down tasks.
Into tiny little pieces and seeing how long each piece takes.
Like a detective analyzing every movement.
You can do this yourself or hire an expert. The key is to be objective.
Just look at the facts. Where are the delays? Are there unnecessary movements?
Can you combine steps, eliminate steps?
It's like a science experiment. You're gathering data to see how the process actually works.
Not how you think it works. Sometimes there's a big difference.
And once you have that data, you can start finding those opportunities to improve.
Maybe there's a step that's always taking too long.
Maybe there's back and forth between departments that could be streamlined.
Maybe a simple tool could save minutes on a task.
Remember those one-handed syrup dispensers, small changes, big impact?
So look for those marginal gains, those little tweaks that add up.
It's about having that mindset of continuous improvement.
Always looking for ways to do better, be more efficient.
Now, data is important, but let's not forget about the people.
Your employees, they're crucial. They're the ones on the front lines.
They often have the best ideas for improvement.
They see those inefficiencies every day.
So create a culture where they feel comfortable speaking up.
Ask them, what frustrates you? How can we make things better?
And most importantly, listen to them and act on their suggestions.
Because productivity isn't about working people harder.
It's about empowering them to do their best work.
Creating an environment where everyone thrives. And that's where leadership comes in.
Are your leaders supporting their teams? Do they have time to coach and mentor?
Are they creating a space where people feel safe to share ideas?
These are big questions for any leader.
Think about your own leadership style. Are you empowering your team?
Or are you micromanaging, creating bottlenecks?
Rethink talks a lot about role clarity, making sure everyone knows what they're responsible for.
And delegation, giving people the authority to make decisions.
Trust your team. Let them do what they do best.
And as you make changes, measure the results. Don't just assume it's working.
Track those metrics. Compare before and after.
Be willing to adjust. Productivity is a journey, not a destination.
And finally, embrace technology. AI is changing everything.
It's going to be even bigger in the future.
So experiment. Find the tools that work for you.
But remember, technology is a tool. It's not a magic solution.
Use it strategically to automate tasks, to free up your people for higher level work.
So there you have it, a crash course in Rethink's productivity philosophy.
Data-driven, empowered by technology, and focused on the human element.
It's a journey, and we hope this deep dive has given you the tools to start your own journey.
To a more productive, fulfilling, and profitable business.
Every second counts.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Every Second Counts. We hope you found it valuable.
If you have any thoughts, any questions, we'd love to hear from you.
Connect with us on social media, share your insights. Let's keep this conversation going.
Until next time, keep diving deep.